Good morning, everybody. So, sorry for the late start. Literally 10 minutes ago, I found something that is going to blow the lid off of Lahaina, Maui. Literally. But first, look what the Navy was doing 3 months ago off the coast of Oahu.
Lasers in the sky, not to worry, it's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers conducting coastal surveys. And they're being done using a contracted aircraft equipped with a light detection and ranging system. The lasers are used to measure distance.
Green beam.
Residents near Oahu South facing shores between Barbers Point and Diamond Head might see those broad beams of green light across the night sky. It'll happen between midnight and 5 a.m. from Friday, April the 28th through the 30th. Officials say brief exposure to the light is not harmful to the unprotected eye. If you happen to see green lasers in the sky, not to worry, it's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of what's going on in Maui could be a honey trap. People to report on it, to make claims, which will then be taken down and channels lost. So I'm not going to say anything about what I just showed you. But here's what I realized. We were already looking at the day before it happened. And again, the Holy Spirit is revealing things before they happen in our reality for those paying attention. The day and week before the Maui fires, as you could see on your screen, we were talking about Tesla's directed energy weapon. Now, we never said Hawaii specifically, or even Maui. But these definitely were obviously Holy Spirit-led rumblings related to directed energy weapons. Now, we were also digging into the Tesla 9/11 connections. As you see here, in the week leading up to the fires, the Tesla files, Brookhaven, this was August 3rd, and then August 4th, the other two towers, and these towers actually point to Tesla's Wardenclyffe laboratory. We even showed a fire department truck in the fire department at a 9/11 memorial right next door to Wardenclyffe Tower Memorial. And then we actually talked about the number 88 the day before 8/8, when Lahaina went up in flames. All of that in these videos right before the fire. And now I want to show you something in Google Earth that I found literally 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago, I found this. So I decided to draw a line in Google Earth from Lahaina to the Tesla Center that I just showed you. And look at what I found. Now I hope you're sitting down for this. This is Lahaina. And as you can see, it almost forms somewhat of a natural alignment through the center of the city, does it not? As you can see on your screen. And if you want to take it a step further, which we don't even really have to with what I'm going to show you next, but it almost forms the letter T, doesn't it? With the beachfront property here, and then this strip of homes going down the center. I think everyone could agree. But watch what happens. Watch where this line points to. I could not believe this. Let's zoom this out and I will show you where this line points. My hands are shaking right now. I can barely zoom this in because I'm still in shock with what I'm going to show you next. This is the Tesla Science Center. This is the memorial that we did the video on the day before the fire. Look at the alignment. It all forms a line together. This is the Tesla Science Center. You can actually even take this line and put it up against the former footprint of the Wardenclyffe Tower, this octagon here. And it's almost an exact alignment. Now I'm going to zoom this out because no doubt there's always naysayers, right? Always naysayers. But this line can only point one place. When you draw a line through the memorial, through Tesla's statue, and through the Tesla Science Center, that line, they're all aligned together, and it only points one place. It actually points a lot of places along the line. You could look along this entire line to see if it intersects with anything else, but it only points one place. This is called an alignment. Now, for the sake of trying to be thorough about this, we should probably check this line for other things that it might go through on its way to Lahaina. So here we go. We're moving along through Delaware State Forest, Scranton, Ohio, it looks like, or Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm sorry. Let's zoom this out so you guys can get your bearings. Now, the map is sideways right now, all the way through Pennsylvania, through Lake Erie, through Detroit. It appears as though we have found another ley line, is what it appears we found here. A ley line of death. Now, what are the odds that we were talking about that very location the day before this all happened? This is what makes this supernatural. This is what makes it Holy Spirit led. Here we are. It goes through, looks like just north of San Francisco. Goes through Nevada. Let's keep following this line. Then it goes out into the Pacific Ocean all the way to Lahaina. This is, I can't even believe this. I just simply can't even believe it. And then it's shaped like a T. What are the odds of that? So, God is amazing, isn't he? We're showing you this the day before it happened. And hopefully the word will get out about this and people can understand that weapons are real. And that's about all we can say about that. I'm going to go back into the chat and get your guys' thoughts about this before we get into a new TV series that I began to decode called Star Trek. And I think it's called New Worlds or something like that. So I'm going to show you guys that and what we found about that. Lots of post-programming disclosure. And specifically Operation Warp Speed. They talk about boosters. They talk about genetic alteration. and seeking to change times and laws. Now, we had established all these connections long ago, so to see them repeated in the series is simply shocking. And that's exactly what's depicted in the first episode of the Star Trek series. They spell it right out. Let's go into the chat for a minute, see what you guys are up to before we get into that. All right. Good morning, everybody. What are the odds of that alignment? I'm just still blown away. Some channels are claiming no such thing as due time to access those channels. Well, of course, they're going to try to cover all of this up, aren't they? Now, on yesterday's show, there were several people in the comments that are from the area, from Hawaii. People actually on Maui left comments. You're going to want to read those comments, because that's where you're going to find the truth. Because they have a different story as to what happened. And maybe this will be their only outlet, their only way to communicate to the rest of the world, because the information coming out of there is very, very sparse. All right, let's get into Star Trek. Watch this.
The locals are humanoid. They're a close match to most of the crew's physiology and genetics, but we'll need to make a few alterations if you want to blend in.
We're gonna mess with your genome.
You first.
Nurse Chapel is part of Starfleet's initiative to better observe alien cultures without contamination.
Internally, they have a bunch of different organs that would take a lot longer to change.
Change how exactly?
You make disguises.
To express short-term changes to your biology. I make minor alterations to your genetic code.
Is it safe?
Almost every time. Sedative first. Your body is going to undergo compressed, jury-rigged metamorphosis. It's painful. I modified it for you, but Vulcans are...
The simulation I'm running shows that Spock's genetic coding is beginning to deteriorate. If I don't synthesize a booster with actual Kylie DNA, he may not pass a retinal scan.
Now, what did I just watch? Is probably what you're asking yourself. Notice the two shots. Now, let me give you the backdrop of this Star Trek TV series reboot. And for you Trekkies out there, this is a well-made series so far as I can tell. I'm in the third episode now. It's a lot more. It's a lot better than Star Trek Discovery. Discovery I didn't really like as much because there were a lot of liberal agendas floating through it, and liberal programming, which always bothers me. But the story centers around Christopher Pike, who is asked to return to leadership in order to investigate a planet in which first contact didn't go so well. Few of the Starfleet officers are being held captive on the planet, and they have to sneak in to rescue them. Now, Pike is troubled because on his last mission before retirement, he actually saw his own death in the future, 10 years in the future to be specific. But for you Trekkies out there, this is a pretty well-made series. The captain is a strong actor, so it definitely keeps your attention, and there's a lot of programming that you can show people about all the stuff we were talking about over the last 4 years about genetics, DNA, boosters, and all this stuff, right? And this is where we get into the first mission. Because in order to not violate the interference directive, they're not supposed to interfere with worlds and give them technology too soon, right? The crew is given a shot, as you just saw, and it genetically modifies them. Now, the effects are temporary, but what it does is they express genes that match up with the humanoid race that they're going down to the planet to kind of integrate with, so they can do their investigation and find out where the missing crew is without interfering with the society's technological progress. All right. Notice that the ship's doctor gave the sedative first before she gave the DNA altering shot. And I'll let you fill in the blanks there, because that could have multiple meanings as it relates to our first round that happened in our reality, right? Now, Spock's dose starts to wear off, and he starts looking less like the aliens on the planet they're on, and he starts reverting back to Vulcan. Watch.
I'll prep the booster. You catch the rabbit.
Always give me the fun job.
Well, you're my favorite.
Now, when they go onto the planet, this guy, they beam him up because they hurt him and they want to help him get better. So they beam him up, and he's supposed to be sedated. But then he wakes up because of his genetic differences. Their medicine doesn't work on him. So as you just heard, she's like, we'll give him he goes, I'll make the booster and you catch the rabbit. And the guy gets out and he's running through the Enterprise.
Versus Boom Shield.
Yes, I was there.
She gives him one shot.
Gotcha!
And then another.
Thank you.
Welcome to Enterprise.
So this is the Enterprise crew on the planet with their genetic alterations, with their shots and their boosters. And Spock begins to revert back. His ear starts turning back into Vulcan. And this alien lady is like, what's going on?
Down here.
Spock, your ears.
I'm aware. The pain is quite remarkable. The recoding seems to have stabilized for now.
These people are not.
The genetic recoding. Unbelievable. I mean, they're just really just telling us all this stuff that we were saying 3 or 4 years ago, right?
These people are not ready for first contact.
We're less than 1 light year out from 0 point,
0 point.
where we and the crew of Discovery opened up a wormhole to the future.
So Pike then finds out that Earth accidentally gave the alien world warp technology before they were ready. And it resulted in disastrous consequences. Basically, the world used the technology to create a bomb to wipe out their adversaries and their enemies on the planet. So that's against the directive, right? They're supposed to not interfere and only give the warp technology when people are ready. So here we have all the components of the pandemic. We've got shots, we've got boosters, we've got warp speed, which was Trump's directive. We've got genetic component in here.
How the hell did they get warp?
We gave it to them, Captain.
If spilled blood is the price, so be it.
Notice that they pretty much admit that fallen angels gave us the technology that we use now. That's what they're pretty much saying here. Because the Enterprise and Starfleet is a metaphor for the fallen angels, right? They're the ones giving the technology out to these worlds. And to the people on the world, they appear as aliens, right? And they've given them nuclear technology, warp capability. In this case, the crew of the Enterprise, they're basically the fallen angel metaphor. They are the outsiders from other planets who will come as angels of light, bringing technology for worlds that are ready. Now, it's the arrival of the Enterprise as the aliens that brings the two fighting factions of this planet together. This lady is the leader of one of the factions. She has the warp capability to build a bomb, and she's about to bomb her enemies into submission, killing millions of people. But because there's a common threat which is obviously the Enterprise and Starfleet, the common threat causes them all to come together against the common enemy. And this will be our alien deception, won't it? They will claim peace when the common threat of aliens is upon us.
Take them.
When elephants fight, it's the grass that's up.
You've given me a proverb, which is less useful than a big stick. Whoever has the biggest stick wins.
Just like you said, whoever has the biggest stick wins. In this case, that is me.
This is the first time in a century both leaders have been in the same room at the same time, and we will... Today, in a historic moment, leaders of the governing and revolutionary factions will meet to discuss the arrival of the aliens.
So there you have it. The theme here is that alien disclosure will bring about unity. And of course, it's a false unity, isn't it? Peace and security, just as the Bible says. So, I think this was only the first or second episode, and all of that was in this new Star Trek TV series reboot. So, I will keep watching this series. Now, obviously, this is post-disclosure, right? But it's connecting the dots of some of the theories that many of us had early on, 3 or 4 years ago, with the warp speed, with portals opening, some kind of time travel element, right? This is all stuff we've talked about, you guys, as well as boosters and a DNA component. So I'm sure there will be more clues. Now, the second episode was all about sound frequencies. Now, I didn't see any bird references, but basically, the crew lands on a comet that's about to destroy a world. And I probably won't do a full decode on that, but I'm going to give it a mention right now. The crew is observing a world that is pretty much in the prehistoric development. They don't have electricity, any kind of technology. And there's a comet approaching the world. It's about to kill the world. So the crew lands on the comet. They become trapped. And they realize that the only language that the comet recognizes is sound frequency. So they begin singing to the comet, and there's like an egg-shaped object inside, and the egg-shaped object begins to respond and react to their singing. Well, as they begin to sing to this egg-like structure, somehow the egg inside the comet, which of course represents the seed, right? They often try to tell us, science tries to tell us that comets basically seed planets, that they bring water and some kind of organism, some kind of DNA. And this is how the enemy tries to trick people into believing that Earth was created, that a comet went by and dropped a bunch of water on it and some kind of organism, right? This is what they've been telling us. And so they begin singing to this thing, and somehow this object, this comet, and the seed inside begins to anticipate. It can see the future, and it knows that the Enterprise will divert the comet. It like banks on it. And then they realize at the end of the episode that it was all part of the comet's plan to have them land on it and blah, 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 right? But the key is the sound frequency. This was the key. This was the catalyst that ended up turning the comet away. So, more frequency, right? So we'll, like I said, I'm not going to do a full decode on that episode. There wasn't a lot to show. I probably should have screen captured some stuff from that, but I'm already on to other episodes, so I'm not going to do that. Let's go into the chat for a bit. What do you guys think about all this? Yes, Daryl, they're talking, it's basically panspermia. The Cosmic Serpent. There's a book called The Cosmic Serpent, and it's all about panspermia. And they what they surmise, their theory is that life ping-pongs across the universe. And this is where you get the whole ping-pong comet thing, right? It's all sorcery. It's all ritual. That's what it means. Ping-ponging across the universe is what these were the exact words that they use in panspermia, not panspermia, but in the book The Cosmic Serpent. And they say that life bounces off of different bodies in the universe, and this is how, and the serpent part should tell you everything you need to know. Because really what this is about, it's the serpent wrapped around the egg, isn't it? That's what this all boils down to. And so the enemy has come up with this theory that relates very closely back to the original sin in the book of Genesis. The serpent wrapped around the seed of the woman. They call it the Orphic egg. And that's exactly what it is. It's a serpent wrapped around an egg. And this is where the concept of panspermia came out of. So, the word Orphic is a very loaded word. It comes from the base word OPF, or Oph, or Ophia, and it means knowledge, or the opening of the eyes. It literally means what the serpent did to Eve. So, don't believe the lie. Let me show you guys the Orphic egg so you can get a visual on this. Wikipedia calls it the world egg. Here it is right here. This is where the concept of panspermia came out of. Typically, the world egg is the beginning of some sort in the universe, or some primordial being coming into existence by hatching from the egg, sometimes laying on the primordial waters of Earth. Egg symbolize the unification of two completely complementary principles, that represented by the egg, white, and the yolk, from which life or existence, in its most fundamental philosophical sense, emerges. While just 2 of Taiwan's 16 officially recognized Aboriginal tribes have deluge myths and incorporate the theme of origin of ancestors from eggs, 3 tribes have primordial anthropogenic myths, which include the motif of cosmic eggs, which gave birth to protoplasts. In Vedic mythology, the cosmic egg comes from some of the Sanskrit scriptures. And then in Zoroastrian mythology, they talk about it as well. So they've got all of this mythology going on. Greek Orphic mythology. The Orphic egg in the ancient Greek is the cosmic egg from which hatched the primordial hermaphroditic, which means sexless, right? That's the Baphomet. Deity, Phanes. Equated also with Pan. Remember, Pan had the sound, the flutes, cut from the nymph Syrinx, from which the word syringe came from. So it's all here. They talk about Chronos, which is time. So this is all about time and sound, frequencies, and the serpent, isn't it? All right. I'm back in the chat now. Yes, androgens. Truth hurts. Yes, iPet Goat 2, the egg, the Orphic egg appears in iPet Goat 2 with the snake slithering around the egg. Yes, and we had covered that in past shows, hadn't we? Yes, the devil says time is on my side. Now he says that because he can hop bodies through time until the end of time. He hops bodies through demon possession. So time is on his side. He can just keep respawning into a new body down through the ages until the end of time, until the appointed time, which is what the demons told Jesus. They challenged Jesus. They said, it is not yet the appointed time. And so he cast them into 2,000 pigs. And that was 2,000 years ago. I think Jesus was trying to tell them something. They jumped off from the 2,000 pigs into the water, which is a portal, and they drowned. So I wonder if those spirits went back down into the waters, the lower waters. Who knows? Because they would have nowhere else to jump back into, would they? Jumping off of a cliff. Kind of like the whole theme of Fallen, the movie with Denzel Washington, where the whole goal was to isolate the demon Azazel, to try to get him to where there were no animals for him to jump into, because there had to be a certain proximity that they had to be next to an animal in order to jump. Remember that movie? And so Denzel Washington lures Azazel out to a cabin in the woods where he believes that there's nowhere for Azazel to jump into, but yet Azazel finds a cat to jump into. Yeah, when I say sexless, that's exactly what I mean. Not sexless, it's both sexes, okay? Hermaphroditic. So, all right, you guys. Some deep truth today, right? Well, you guys thumbs up this video. It's the only way people are going to see this information. I feel like this is top level truth. The alignment with Wardenclyffe Tower and the 9/11 Memorial, which is shaped like an eyeball, and that pointing directly to Lahaina, and us covering that the day before it happened. I think that that's very significant, with the fire trucks out front of the memorial and all of that. So definitely share this video. It will definitely open people's eyes. I love each and every one of you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.